Welcome to Spirit Fire's monthly free online lecture. My name is Donna Mitchell-Moniak, and I'll be presenting tonight on our vibrational architecture, which is related to the science of the seven rays and esoteric psychology. But before we get to that, I want to let people know, if you don't already, that a new round of Spirit Fire's online free daily meditation practice has just started this week. You are welcome to join us. It is again a free online meditation training in a group form. We experience one another while we're there, and it has been going on now for about 6 years. So you're welcome to check out spiritfire.com for information on that, as well as to register and get the links. Equally so, we will be offering a meditation retreat in both Milwaukee and in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. The Milwaukee retreat is full, but if you would like to join me and the wonderful group of people at Tahlequah in the Sparrowhawk Mountain Center, love to have you join us for 4 days of meditation, looking at meditation as a spiritual path and the path of meditation specifically offered to us through the training in shamatha, peaceful abiding, and vipassana, penetrating insight, given to us through the Tibetan imagery of that path of meditation. It was very wonderful to offer that here at Spirit Fire this past number of days. A wonderful group of people here, and Spirit Fire launched that 3 places that we will do this meditation retreat. So again, spiritfire.com for information. Love to have you join us at Oklahoma. As we look at tonight, we are looking at vibrational architecture as the 4th module within a series called Vibrational Excellence that I've been doing through Spirit Fire now for a number of months. If you did not participate in the previous 3 sections or modules, does that mean that this particular subject, that you might not have the background? No, it does not. And should you be interested in either partaking of any of those previous modules, they are all available online, and the free lecture is on YouTube, and you would search my name and you can come up with those. But this 4th in our series is certainly also a culmination. We have taken up metaphysics overall and ourself as an energetic being. Then we engage the subject matter of meditation in order to understand ourself. Again, our consciousness, the processes of consciousness, and how to engage meditation in order to effect and bring forward a fuller range of our awareness and consciousness. And we just completed, literally last night, we just completed the module on the centers and the human energy system, inclusive of the central channel, looking at the subtle system from the point of view of healing and well-being, etc. So again, if you have interest in any of those subject matters, you might drop me an email or just check it out at spiritfire.com. All of those programs have been archived and are webcasted, and all that kind of accessible kind of technology is of use and easy for us to access. Tonight, though, vibrational architecture is looking at the actual energetics of a human being and how and why we are unique among all other people. So we could ask a few questions to begin, and I think that these are a good place to start from the point of view of what is it that makes each of us who and what we are? And here's some examples. You might be a precise person, or you might be a person who's loose with details. You might be precise in some things and quite loose in other things. What makes you or I be like that? What makes us choose or be inspired to be certain things in our life? Why are some people inspired to do one thing and others to do another? Why is it that children from the earliest of ages, they display certain qualities, and among them is how they will learn? And if that child is a kinesthetic, hands-on learner, it is very difficult for them to learn by rote and memorization. Whether it is fortunate or unfortunate, many of those children have been labeled as dyslexic and such as that. But that label often gets in the way of everyone around that child accepting and looking at them for the intelligence that they are using, and in many cases the supreme adaptability that they have to, again, through creative intelligence, actually use in order to learn in the way that best suits them. So what are the energetics behind these kinds of choices and natural inclinations, these natural inspirations that many people, including ourselves, all have? Equally so, if we scope back and look at a bigger picture, then we might notice that here's a list of developed nations as an example, some of them having very long histories, the United States being the youngest of those. But yet, if we have ever traveled, we have learned a language, we have explored a particular culture through books or magazines, I think that it is easy to see that these four cultures have distinctions within them, and it is easy to tell France from Japan as an example. One might say that it's less easy to determine Britain from the United States, but the more that we talked about what are the particular qualities of those two nations, I think that we would be able to come up with easy, discernible distinctions between them. And of course, to talk about, United States or France, United States or Japan, again, it's very easy to see the distinctions. And of course, at the same time, realize that these are, again, developed, fairly affluent, and established nations. Equally so, there are people who, as they walk in nature or experience nature, they are aware of, in a sensate way, energies coming from particular natural surroundings or sacred places. And I wonder how many people, if you walk into a stand of, let's say, maple trees, which are deciduous trees, which will have their leaves and lose them at the end of the fall, how many of you might have experienced a distinction between that and a stand of oaks, which also are deciduous, will have their leaves and will lose them? But yet there is a distinction in their energies. They look similar, but yet look different. And again, I think that many people do experience a distinction and a difference between them. And then lastly, we could ask ourselves, as we look out to the world of nature, do we investigate, are we curious about what the energetic designs or the energetic impulses are that might lie behind the various types of evolution on our planet? These are, if you will, kind of big questions, but at the same time, my intention tonight is to approach them with some simplicity so that we can then, if you have interest, join me for the 4-week class. Author Dorje Jimpa writes, by penetrating to the root source of the natural world, we can discover the reality behind it. And that's going to be our exploration tonight. Science, and it is considered a science to understand the energetics behind things, and that is called energetic psychology or esoteric psychology, and in general the esoteric sciences overall, down through history. They all have to do with energetic causation. What is it, or what set of causes are the roots and the reasons why things are the way that they are? These esoteric sciences, down through human history again, some of them quite ancient, have inquired into such questions. Their focus in general is not limited to the appearances and behaviors of things, but does use those appearances and behaviors in order to try to ascertain or intuit that which lies behind them and is causative of the reality that we perceive through appearance and behavior. As such, then, these energetic sciences are very focused in energy itself. Is it qualified? Is it vibrationally colored or toned, if you will? And how do we determine that? What are the many ways to observe, to find evidence for, to experience energy and quality? As such, then, the various formulations of the teachings, again, over a long period of time through multiple different cultures, some of them having the same fundamental roots, and then flowering forward again as different cultures or as this information came out of being an oral transmitted, initiated type of set of teachings into oftentimes a public but still veiled way. And we would have an example of that, for instance, in the Tarot. The Tarot, what lies behind it is some very ancient teachings on energy and quality, but its original state as playing cards back in the 1400s, I think, was a veiled presentation of these very alchemical and occult principles. In addition to those, we have things like herbal medicine, or the understanding of the energetic quality of various plants and that relation to the energetic quality of a dis-ease or a disharmony within the physical body. Equally so, the ancient science of prana through the Hindu system, and the same thing but with slight alterations in the teaching on qi through the Chinese system. Then, of course, you have it in Japan under the word ki, Q-I. Then there is things like the study of sacred places, and that sacred places have a particular energetic. And that is why they've been used for ritual and ceremony and temple and cathedral and Native American sites and such as this. It is because there is particular energy there. It has a particular quality. It can be sensed, experienced, and there are various evidences of that. So, and then finally, we might add to that list, and it's a short list, the study of the cosmos itself, and in that would be esoteric astrology, Vedic astrology, the cycle of time, and things like this. So we have here, the image is, of course, a Tibetan one, and it is of Tibetan cosmology and Tibetan energy cycles and time cycles. It is the Master DK who has reported to us or said to us through his teachings that the science of the seven rays is the mother source of all further or later presentations of the various teachings on energy and quality. In other words, the Master DK is reporting to us or offering to us that the science of the seven rays is the first and the most ancient source of teaching on energy and quality as it is expressed through all manifestation. The great and very ancient philosopher Proclus said, "Some sciences are closer to the truth than others. A science that starts from simpler principles is superior to one whose starting point is more complex. A science that considers cause is superior to one that studies only effects." This is an interesting place to kind of enter our subject matter, because the science of the seven rays absolutely is going to be predicated upon principles, and the principles that it is interested in are macrocosmic and thus pervasive and affect everything. That's the nature of principles. First off, they create all laws, and it is the nature of that which is macrocosmic that it then, of course, is reflected in and conditions all microcosms, of which we are one, as an example. Equally so, if we look at modern science, oftentimes modern science is very engaged in effects. And I think modern Western medicine is a very good example of that. And in looking at primarily symptoms and seeking to address symptoms or effects, it isn't really interested in the ultimate cause, because the ultimate cause would require a lot of change within the culture, a lot of change within food, a lot of change within business. So, in other words, that kind of change would have to be quite systemic within the culture. Therefore, it is easier to only look at the effects. But a great science, or a greater science, one that is more closer to capital T truth, is going to look at, again, causes as the superior point of entry, in contradistinction to looking at primarily symptoms or effects. The first principle in the science of the seven rays, the science of energy and quality, is the principle of energy itself. Within this principle is the understanding and the injunction or hypothesis, if you prefer, that energy underlies every manifestation, every demonstration, and every expression that can be known. So it is not only that which appears and exists or appears to exist, but it is that which as yet is not yet discovered, that which has not yet been understood, that which has not yet been intuited, etc., that once we do awaken to or come into contact with more manifestations, more demonstrations, more expressions, even in the subtle realms or in subtle manners, that everything will still come to be or be underlied by particular energies. The second principle is the principle of quality. So we have energy and quality. This foundational principle is stating that the underlying energy not only is the cause of manifestation and expression, no matter what it is, for instance, like this gecko, but that particular energy which is causative of this gecko has a particular vibrational quality to it. It carries a particular quality, which is why the gecko is a gecko, and why a cat is a cat, a maple tree is a maple tree, and you are the quality that you are, and maybe your neighbor or your partner has another set of qualities. So this idea here is a very important foundational principle, that not only is there energy and that it is causative of an expression or manifestation, etc., but that energy carries or is vibrationally toned by a specific identifiable quality. And the way that we will be able to identify that specific vibrational quality is by its variety of evidences that all hook back or point back to that particular fundamental energy quality. Now, it is not the intention of tonight, which is, simply a kind of overview or preliminary exploration, to go into the deep macrocosmic factors about this. For instance, one of them being that it is given in the various esoteric traditions that the actual sources of these qualities and energetic streams are quite transcendent and quite macrocosmic. So, that would be hypothetical to an awful lot of people, and certainly in an evening such as this, it would not be the time to explore that. However, that does not put aside that this fundamental or foundational principle is second in importance, but equal to the first in its overall importance. And then thirdly, the third principle is that everything, you, I, everyone we know, everything we see, everything we touch, taste, interact with, all our choices, our habits, our joys, everything is evidence of the hypothesis that has been stated. Therefore, once we come to understand the hypothesis and what to look for, or how to kind of categorize what we are perceiving within ourselves and outside of ourselves, then that gives this hypothesis merit and becomes a method whereby it might be validated for oneself and one's understanding. And all the pictures that have been chosen tonight are, of course, showing, they are revealing, they are describing quality, expression, and energy. For an example, I don't know about you, but rock climbing like this is not my thing. Never has been. Do I enjoy a good mountain climb? Absolutely. Have I done that many times in my life? Yes. But doing this, that's not my gig at all. So to have an interest in that, first, is a particular energy quality that is conditioning this person. To then follow up on that interest and actually train adequately to do it, mold the body in such a way that it can do it, to have the strength, the particular, very particular type of strength in one's body to be able to do it. Each of these factors is all evidence of particular energy qualities that are conditioning this person's physical body, this person's emotional body, this person's mental constructs and how they view the world, what they think is possible, what they are undaunted by, etc. Even the ability to really think about, well, how do I navigate this sheer rock face? And then finally, the amount of independence or fearlessness or daring or boldness to want to do this in the first place and then follow it through. Every aspect of this is evidence of energy and qualities as causative of this person choosing to do this and then being able to actually accomplish it. So the idea of vibrational signature or energetic signature is also another phrase for, or another way to say, our energetic or vibrational substructure. We clearly have our outer structure, our physical body, the way that we might, want to have our room or our house, or the type of friends that we have, etc., would all be kind of the outer structures within our life. But there are energetic substructures or signatures that are part of us. And although clearly this is Einstein and not Jacob Boehm, but I felt that as we read this quote, it speaks of how obvious when we see a person, in this case Einstein, automatically certain ideas about Einstein come to mind. Abstract thinker, philosopher, scientist, and an inventive mind, an intuitive mind, etc. These things come immediately to our mind. So that when we read this, the greatest understanding of man lies in his signature. Well, Boehm is not speaking about only about the person's actual handwriting. Boehm is actually speaking about their overall signature, the signature of the person. So Einstein is a great example of that. Whereby he may, there's a typo, may not only learn to know himself, but therein also he may learn to know the essence of all essences. So the suggestion here tonight is that by looking at Einstein, for example, and looking at the kind of qualities that he exemplified and brought forward through his life that he expressed, we could come to understand them for the energetic that they are, and the name of that energetic, and the overall set of qualities that go with that energetic, as we will see later on. With all sciences, of course, the primary skill set that we apply is observation. So as an example, you probably know your birth sign, and my guess is that you've asked other people, what's yours? And if you have any interest in astrology, or you've read your own horoscope or read an astrology book, this kind of thing, you've observed that in many ways you do express the qualities that are stated to be of your birth sign. And if you have an interest in astrology, when you ask somebody else about their birth date, you very quickly make assumptions, you very quickly start to look for certain things in that person. So this is a skill of observation, of course. We also can observe within ourselves that we have primary habits. and our partner or our children or our mother or father might also have primary habits that are, in some cases, might be shared as just human habits. But there are distinctions. And to understand that these primary habits that you and I have an energetic cause, that which serves us well, we repeat it because it serves us well, that has an energetic qualitative cause. And equally so, the primary habits that we have that are troublesome, that just trip us up every time, that we're in process of transforming, or we love to be able to transform, they too have an energetic cause. And the same is so, of course, with observations of others. We observe quite blatantly that when we are in a workplace or with our colleagues or with people that we have an interest in common with, so we hang out with them sometimes, that it's very easy to observe what is in common. For instance, if we have, people play golf or they go to a basketball game, or they're in a quilting club. It's very easy to see what is in common among these people, and equally so it is very easy to see what is unique about these people. We might have children, and as parents, it was very quick to see the distinctions between the children, although they had the same two parents. So these are all observations that actually we would use in this science and in its inquiry of esoteric psychology, energy vibration, and energy signatures. The 7 rays are the science that the Master DK gave us in great detail through almost all of his books. Have various aspects of this most robust and very useful science. And then specifically the 2 books, Esoteric Psychology Volume 1 and Volume 2, focus extensively on the science of the 7 rays, the utilization of these energies within our overall makeup, our overall creative expression, going back to, for instance, the image of the person that was rock climbing, right? So where that falls within this list would be under the first ray. So that person has strong first ray within the overall comprehensive energetics of being. And so we have a number of these kind of creating ingredients in our recipe, if you will, the recipe of who we are. And coming to understand what those are is very useful to us for a wide variety of reasons. So there are many implications in this science of esoteric psychology, or again, vibrational substructures, vibrational energetics. And one of them has to do with the relationship of our kind of personal self, if you will, and the energy of the soul, the energy of our soul, or the soul that we are. And so the Master DK gives us this: the personality is a fusion of 3 major forces, as well as it is the energetic of being subjected to the impact of soul energy. So as our sense of self, as our mind, our emotions, how we interact with our physical dimensionality, how these these first fuse together, those factors, those three, and the energy qualities that pervade them, they fuse together. But then each of them individually is subject to the impact of soul energy, and as a collection or as an aggregate, the personality as a whole, our sense of self, is subject to the impact of soul energy. And last but not least, it is a very particular soul energy. So it's not just that it is soul energy, which we all would have whatever understanding of that, as in, a higher nature, the light of the soul, the love of the soul, however we would phrase that. But in addition to kind of the overarching quality of soul energy is that the soul has a specific ray quality to it that is also impacting the personality, the mind, the emotions, the spiritual path that we are walking, impacting our everyday life, its circumstances, its relationships, etc. So all of this is our personal architecture, if you will, our personal energetic and qualitative architecture. And within it is this interaction of forces, energies, and qualities. The forces are the specific forces of our, again, constitutional makeup, if you will. Our emotions are clearly a set of forces. The processes of our thinking are clearly a set of forces, and we know that because we can feel the force behind them. If a process of thought includes, are we directed? Are we oriented? Are we able to organize ourselves? Emotions include, are we contented? What drives us? What do we aspire? What motivates us? What brings us happiness? Who are we looking for? What are we looking for in a relationship? All of this is our emotional nature and the force that is behind it, and the variety of forces, again, in a substructure way within us. So all of this is speaking of the energetics and qualities behind, causative of, who and what we are. And therefore, how our life expresses, how our life demonstrates, manifests, what it invokes, what it does not invoke, etc. The Tibetan master also says that once the fact of the soul is admitted, either personally or kind of culturally, that we will see that that person, let's say it just is individually, yes, I agree, I believe in, or I have experienced that I have a soul, or I am a soul. Then that orients us to the directing purpose and the guidance of our soul. And so then, again, from an energetic point of view, if the soul itself is qualified by, let's say it that way, qualified by one of those 7 rays, well, then that's going to determine the type of purpose, the qualitative purpose that is you and I throughout our life. That we are here to express, that we are incarnated in order to bring forward. And the type of guidance that we will seek and the type of guidance that we will be able to follow will again be according to that energy quality of the particular ray of the soul. So we could ask ourselves, and this would be a wonderful kind of little personal exploration, whether or not you know or have been exposed to this science before. You can just go through the list here. What resonates to you? My guess is that one and at most two of the bulleted points will resonate to you. And from the point of view of our life purpose, then clearly, if one of these qualities is primary, because it's the ray of the soul, then this will be what brings us the greatest joy. This will be what inspires our creativity when we are expressing the qualities of our soul. And when we meet another person who is of the same soul ray, we will find camaraderie, we will find a like-minded, a like-hearted person. We will have ease, and again, if we end up being colleagues on a project or something like that, or in some form of group work or group service, then there might be a disagreement on certain things, but overall there will be a similarity of sense of purpose. The Master Decay suggests that esoteric psychology is the new science of humanity. That to understand ourselves through this rubric and this lens of energy, quality, vibration, and expression is how we will best understand ourselves, best serve our children. We will transform the educational model such that all learning styles are met, because those learning styles are determined by the one of the 7 rays that is coloring the mind, vibrationally coloring the mind and thinking processes of every human being. We will discover that the various typologies that are used both in psychology as well as in human resources, that is to say in workplaces, that we will find that that which we have a true aptitude for is absolutely got to do with the rays that are dominant within us. We will find that, how some people are kind of, their temperature runs high, and that is to say, they're excitable people, or, coaches and motivators and that kind of thing. And they might, have high passions about many things. And then there are people who, their temperature, if you will, runs a little cooler, a little less excitable. So what makes for that? That's all one of the rays on the emotional body or the emotional equipment of the person. So every part of us expresses particular energies and those qualities. And that's some of the examples I was just giving. When we have ease with people oftentimes they could be complete strangers. We meet in sort of, I don't know, meeting place, or again, group forum, or it's a new person at work. It's a wedding that we go to, and we're just sitting around the table. We're assigned to a table, and lo and behold, we have this instant energetic ease with someone who we've never met before. We might even feel like they are familiar to us. We wonder if we have met them before. Well, quite often that's because their ray of their soul, or the ray of their personality is the same as ours. So energetically we feel such a kinship that we go, oh, I know you. Well, it is that we know their quality because we live it ourselves. Equally so, we might find in such a science as this that again it helps explain our challenges, those habits that are often hard to transform, hard to put down. Well, if they are along an energy stream, a particular energy quality that depersonalizes the problem we might be having, and actually might give us a tool whereby to actually transform what we would like to. And as we understand that our purpose in this life, as well as a whole cycle of lives, our purpose, our abilities, that which brings us joy, as well as our default patterns, are all expressions of the 7 rays. They are expressions of the rays that are qualifying each of us. They are expressive of the vibrational energetic architecture that is our scaffolding, if you will, our energetic scaffolding. And so what this provides for us is an understanding of causes, energetic causes, which is not fatalistic at all, nor is it necessarily about destiny. It's not about fate. It's not about, kind of putting things in a box and you can't change them. No, in fact, again, to understand things from the energetic cause is to actually give us the supreme tool of transformation if we want to do that, and if that's to our betterment, as well as empowerment for living things and living life as purposefully as possible. And so, very simply then, if this interests you, please join me for a 4-week, very short, exploration of the 7 rays. In many ways, it will be, it'll be rich. But 4 weeks is not a lot of time to take up such a very full subject matter. But nonetheless, just as we have with the other 3 out of 4 modules that we've done with this Vibrational Excellence series, we've taken up some very deep subject matters and have explored them pretty well. So you are welcome to join me for this one. Love to have you there. And if you like details, or if you would like to register, that's at spiritfire.com. So I'll just stop for a second and see if there's any thoughts or questions. I don't see any questions, so I want to thank you for being here tonight. If you found this information of value, do tell others that this will be posted on YouTube Very easy to find. Just look up my name and you'll find it on YouTube. So thank you again for being with me tonight. It's been a joy to be with you. And I hope that you will join me for this exploration of your energetic architecture and your vibrational excellence. Love you all. Have a wonderful evening.